All right, good evening. I'd like to go ahead and call to order this regular city council meeting for Monday, June 23rd, 2025, 6 p.m. And we have some very special guests here this evening. It looks like we have some scouts, and I would love it if you could come forward and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And before you gentlemen get seated, everybody else can sit, would you please give us your names, your grades, and your ranks?
I'm Andrew Strobel, I'm in 8th grade and I'm first class.
Thank you.
I'm Max Peak, I'm in 8th grade and I'm first class.
Thank you.
I'm Bodie Harps, I'm in 8th grade and I'm first class.
And which one of you would like to be the representative to tell us why you're here this evening? Yeah, they're all looking at you.
We need to do our prerequisites for our citizenship in the community merit badge for summer camp.
Great. Well, if you guys stick around, I don't know how long the meeting's gonna run, but if you stick around through the meeting and you have questions afterwards, I'm sure that any one of the council members or myself would be able to help you out with that, all right? Thanks so much for being here this evening.
Thank you.
All right, we do have a pretty full agenda. I'm gonna go ahead and have roll call, please, Holly.
Ludwig.
Here.
Haynes.
Here.
Jenkins.
Here.
Van Osburgh.
Here.
Rhines. Gilroy.
Here.
Hanson.
Here.
I would entertain a motion to excuse Councilman Rhines. He, this evening, is with the baseball team, which is, I think, it's a little bit more important for this evening.
Move to excuse.
Thank you so much. Do I have support?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. I'm looking for an approval of this evening's agenda unless there are changes that need to be noted.
So move.
Thank you. Do I have support?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We have an opportunity for audience participation with a maximum of 5 minutes per presentation if anyone would like to come forward. And if you do, please state your name at our podium.
But we have a full agenda, so I'll try to be brief, but I'd like to come by and just provide a quick update on our schools and the school year that just recently concluded. So Adam Spina, I'm the superintendent of Williamston Community Schools. First, I want to say thank you. I know the Red Cedar Committee, Jubilee Committee, puts a lot of work into Jubilee, but I also know the city is instrumental in making that happen. And it's just an awesome showcase for the community, and you know, it's just great to be a part of it, a small way through the school system, but also just personally as a resident. Family had a great time this year, and we spent way too much money at the carnival, but it was just really cool. So great job, and really appreciative of the city's support of that event. This past year was a very challenging year, as they all are, but also very successful. And just a few highlights from the year. Again, the high school was ranked one of the best in the country, and also the top rated school according to the Department of Education in Ingham County, I believe, for the 6th consecutive year. All the schools earned over a 90 out of 100 on the state accountability scorecard, which looks at a variety of different metrics to evaluate the overall quality of schools, which is very hard to do for any school, but to get every one of them over 90 is a huge accomplishment. And more importantly than all those things, so those are nice statistics to have, but you know, again, I just want to continue to recognize the awesome group of educators that we have in Williamston. It's a small community that have the level of expertise, the level of talent and commitment that we have is just a very special thing, and it's not the same everywhere. I've worked other places, I've seen other schools, and what we have here is very special and unique. And we talk about it sometimes being the Williamston way, where people go way above and beyond to do great things for kids. And just very lucky to have that culture here, and that is why we have the success that we do. Quick update on our bond. We were very fortunate to have the strong support of the community last August with approving that millage to do much needed enhancements throughout the district. This summer, we're focusing on kind of the things that we could get shovel ready as quickly as possible so that the community could actually see the return on their investment. So the construction of the tennis courts has started. It's about halfway through. It's done 2 cement pours already, and we're hoping if the weather cooperates, we'll have that in time for fall sports to commence in the fall, in August. Tennis, softball, phase 1 of the softball field enhancements will start on the 29th, and the site work is already going on there. And then locker replacement at the middle and the high school is underway, as the replacement of all the classroom furniture in those 2 buildings. So if you walk through either of those buildings right now, it's a complete disaster. But just like every year, we'll have that ready to go when the kids return here in a couple months. The flagship project for that bond was the new Explorer Elementary, and again, very appreciative of the city, and John, Chief Weiss have been awesome and given us a lot of great ideas to get that going. And so that is scheduled to start April of 2026, so a little bit less than a year. A lot of work going on into the design concepts for that, and we're hoping if all goes well, the school itself will be built by December of 2027. And then from January of 27 through August of 28, that's when the circle, the 4th and 5th grade circle, as we call it at Explorer, will be renovated, as well as the preschool, the current 3rd and preschool wing, which will turn into an early childhood wing at the campus. So hopefully if all stays on pace, that'll be the timeline for that. And then just to close, financially, again, we continue to be in a strong spot, although we don't have a state budget as of yet, which is a big variable, obviously. But we had our fund balance per expenditures was as high as 29%. We do anticipate drawing that down, as has been the plan, to maintain the level of support and staffing that we have throughout the schools. But we're still in a very stable position financially. We've received A+ rating from Standard & Poor's, and I can't remember how many consecutive years it is of having a clean, unqualified opinion on our annual audit. So we remain in good shape financially as well. Again, I'll just close by acknowledging the awesome team that we have in the schools, and that we really appreciate the ongoing collaboration with the city. And it's just another example of what makes Williamston such a great place to live and work. So thank you for your time, and I appreciate it.
Thank you so much, I appreciate it. So I just kind of figured you're keeping it clean at Williamston.
That works. Yeah, I'll take it. I'm not good
So
with that
thanks.
stuff. So
Thank you so much, and
that'll
thanks
work.
so much for, the great detail. Holly, if we have an extra one of these, you have this on your website, right?
It is.
But if we can, if we have the opportunity to like add a link or whatever, I think it's really important for our residents in the district that have kids and don't have kids. Everybody should know, what a great job you guys are doing there, so thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks for being here. Anyone else for public comment at this time? All right, we'll move along our agenda. We have our council meeting minutes from June 9th, 2025, and we do have a correction on page 3, item 12, in the 3rd paragraph. There is a typo, so we need to, that will need to be corrected, and it was tier tent. We need to correct that for beer tent. But other than that, if there are no other changes to be noted, I would be looking for a motion with that change in our council meeting minutes.
Move to approve council meeting minutes as changed.
All right, thank you so much. Do I have support? Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. And now we have the opportunity for our council payable, where we like to call it now, where did the money go?
Where did
So
all that money go?
Terry,
Yes, indeed.
it's your turn.
Okay. I'm pleased to say that none of our money went to the government transfer things, which I just find, I'm glad when that doesn't happen. So 0 went to that. I had 2 questions for John. John had answers to both the questions. And then the other piece of really good news is that 20% of what we spent this last 2 weeks went for the thing that I think is most important in our budget, and that is road maintenance. So we spent that was the #1 big thing in here, was road maintenance. Canada was #2, and Chief Wise found a good deal on signs, got 50% off on signs for the no parking thing, so that's a good deal.
Excellent.
And that's where your money went this time.
All right, excellent. Well, thank you.
So I'll make a motion to approve checks 78399 through 78423, ACH 1585 through 1613, and EFT 1614 for a total of $124,847.54.
Thank you so much, Terry, I appreciate it. Does anybody have any questions or discussion? If not, I'm looking for support for that motion.
I think we,
Haynes, do you have a question? Yes.
No.
Oh, you did, you supported already. You gotta talk up, can't hear out of this here. All right, so we have a motion, we have support. Holly, will you call the roll, please?
Van Osberg,
yes.
Gilroy,
Yes.
Ludwig,
Yes.
Hanson,
Yes.
Haynes,
Yes.
Jenkins.
Yes.
All right, we're a little past, but we are going to go ahead and our next item on the agenda is the TIFA Plan Amendment Public Hearing. It will start at 6:10. So we have this in front of us. I'm gonna turn this over to our city manager, John Hamilton.
Thank you. So just as a way of introduction, the Tax Increment Finance Authority has had a TIFA plan going back more than 30 years. And so anytime there's major adjustments to the plan, new projects or reimagining old projects, there's a TIF amendment that's necessary. And so that's what's in front of you tonight. I understand it's pretty long and voluminous, but the major highlights for the amendment would be improvements to the DPW complex paving and security, construction of a new DPW storage garage, improvements to 250 Elevator Street, which is a smaller, it's the old community service building. It's not the ice house, we can talk about that separately. The demolition of the old railroad barn, that's really has its useful life. Paving of Railroad Street, the portion that's in the 5th District, and then repaving of Progress Court and Industrial Park Drive. And so what, if council does adopt this further in our agenda tonight, it just sets the stage to start those projects once the plan's amended. It's not a commitment to purchase, it's not a commitment of funds, it allows the TIFA to pursue bids and pursue moving forward with those projects. Our chair, Mr. Porciello, is here. He can also help answer any questions you may have. He's been on the board for a number of years. He's a great resource for us. So happy to answer any questions that council or the public may have.
All right. Any questions? Yes, Terry.
I just want to thank you for whoever it was, I think it was city attorney, put together the history of the TIFA thing, which was very interesting to me, because I don't know, I know about the TIFA, but I didn't know all the different projects that have been part of it.
Yeah.
So, thank you.
Absolutely. Any other questions, comments?
Just a quick one, what part of railroad is part of the TIFA?
So, yeah, the first block from Putnam to
See,
White or
White
Cedar?
Street.
White,
Yep.
yes. That's all?
Only a portion, yeah,
Okay.
this is the first block. Yep.
So that's all that's being paid money.
No, and again, I knew that'd probably be the question point. When we talked about this last time, when we were going through budget, that the idea, the TIFA would pay for, it's roughly a third of the project. Yeah, it's roughly a third, because it would be railroad all the way around up Mill Street. So we want to do all of it.
Okay.
But first things first, we want to see the double chip seal and mullet, which we did approve for this budget year.
Okay.
But that's the portion that TIFA could pay for.
Right.
The other project, Progress and Industrial, all of that is within the TIFA, and that's viewed as a 2020 budget project.
Is that way more because it's longer?
It's more, yes, yeah. Progress and Industrial, of course, it's more because it's longer, but it's also it's a mill and fill of the asphalt.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's processing.
Correct. Yep.
All right, if there's no other questions or comments, I will go ahead and close our public hearing at 6:14. Moving on, we have our action items now, and this is pretty lengthy. Some of them will go quick, some of them I'm sure we're going to have some discussion points. So the first action item is going to be the reappointment of Jeff Markstrom to the Planning Commission for a term to expire 6/30/28. We do have his application here in our packet, but if there are no questions or comments, I'm looking for that motion for the reappointment.
Make a motion to reappoint Jeff Markstrom to the Planning Commission for a term to expire on 6/30/2028.
Do I have support?
Support.
All right, thank you. Holly, will you call the roll, please?
Gilroy,
Yes.
Ludwig,
Yes.
Hanson,
Yes.
Haynes,
Yes.
Jenkins,
Yes.
Van Osberg.
Yes.
All right, next is going to be the reappointment of Brandon Lanning to the Planning Commission for a term to expire 6/30/2028. 28. I'm looking for that motion.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Thank you. Holly, will you call the roll, please?
Ludwig,
Yes.
Hanson,
Yes.
Haynes,
Yes.
Jenkins,
Yes.
Van Allsburg,
Yes.
Gilroy.
Yes. And our next is reappointment of Robert McPherson to the Economic Development Corporation, TIPA 2A, TIPA 2B, for a term to expire 6/30/2031.
So moved.
Thank you so much. You know, when you start seeing the 30s in there for the years, it kind of throws you off a little bit. I'm looking for support.
Second.
Thank you. Holly, will you call the roll, please?
Hanson,
Yes.
Haynes,
Yes.
Jenkins,
Yes.
Van Allsburg,
Yes.
Gilroy,
Yes.
Ludwig.
Yes.
All right. Those were the easy ones. All right, now on our action item, we have TIPA plan amendment. I'm going to turn that back over to our city manager, John Hannafin.
Thank you, Mayor Gilroy, members of council. I think I talked that one to death, but what you do have in front of you for approval is a resolution approving the 2025 amendment to the tax increment financing plan and development plan 2B for City of Williamston. And as I said, there's a lot there to unpack, but primarily it's the bulk of this is the history and the various amendments to the plan over a number of years.
Yes,
So
Scott.
is there anyone just expressed dismay in one particular night, Mitch Lusky, to the removal of that building from any historical perspective?
Are you talking Ice House?
No,
Or-
the one we're gonna tear down, the line.
Oh, the old pole barn, the old red pole barn?
No one said anything about, we need to save that for historical.
I don't think it's that old
We'll
in the
do,
grand scheme.
we will do our best to decommission it, and if there's a way to reuse, I mean, the doors are metal, so those are add-on, but some of the old barns, there's a possibility to reduce the demolition costs and have that repurposed somewhere else, we would certainly do that. I've done that on other projects in other communities.
Sure.
Oh,
All right, if there's no other questions or comments, I'm looking for a motion for the TIPA plan amendment.
Make a motion to approve the TIPA plan amendment as presented.
Thank you so much. Do I have support?
Second.
Any other discussion or comments, questions? Holly, will you call the roll, please?
Haynes,
Yes.
Jenkins,
Yes.
Van Allsburg,
Yes.
Gilroy,
Yes.
Ludwig,
Yes.
Hanson.
Yes.
All right. Next is our biosolids hauling contract, and again, this is going to go back over to our city manager, John Hannafin.
Thank you, members of council, Mayor Gilroy. So, everyone's favorite topic, biosolids. This is an integral part of the treatment process. We did send out 9 solicitations to different companies. Unfortunately, the number and kind of companies that are still in this work are getting less and less. The primary reason is dealing with PFAS. So we did, as I said, receive 2 bids, Biotech, Agronomics, and NutriGrow Environmental. Biotech's bid was considerably less expensive than NutriGrow. So just under 10 cents a gallon is somewhat in line with what other communities are paying these days. So we're a little bit below the margin. It is more than we have paid traditionally, but that's just the nature of, there's 2 things. There's the PFAS concerns, and then there's fewer and fewer fields that this is land applied to that farmers are making available because of concerns with PFAS. So
What's PFAS?
polyfluorinated alkaline substrates.
Oh.
First day, nailed it. Been practicing all day.
Wow.
I hope that's right. Close. Anyway, it's bad. It's forever chemicals that are found in fire retardants and water repellents and things like that. And so that just can show up in various sources. We do have testing as part of that. There's an additional scope of work in the contract with biotech, and we need them to do extra testing, but we're responsible on a separate line item
So
to.
does something different happen if that's in there?
It is, yep.
So that's why they're worried.
Correct. Yep.
Are they who's doing it now?
They are, yes.
I do like the fact that this is a 3-year contract. That is great, so that, you know, we've got this locked in for 3 years.
We also have the opportunity in the contract to extend it for 3 years beyond that. So-
Okay.
But first things first would be
Sure.
the first 3-year period.
All right, great.
Okay.
Yes, sorry.
And how does that bid
equate to what we were budgeting in our.
Great question.
It's roughly 3 cents more, so per gallon, so it's about 35 to 40% more than what we've been paying.
Okay, all right. But their bid is the bid that came in the lowest?
Correct.
Okay, all right.
So I noticed in the
Gary.
accounts payable that the wastewater treatment plant has lots of testing and things that they do, and lots of equipment and materials and chemicals and so forth. But the PFAS testing was, the price on the normal testing is here, PFAS testing is up here. It's just amazing. This is becoming more significant than you would have thought. What's, do you have a long-term sort of picture of what's gonna happen with this?
How much time do we have? I mean, I can certainly do a memo for everyone. The big challenge is, Michigan in particular, there's a couple of sites near military bases that were the most impacted. And so it's been on everyone's consciousness for the last, decade or so. Oscoda and Lake Vannon is one of the primary, delicate points, along with Lake Marguerite, which is up near, just outside of Camp Grayling. So the state is really, it's not for me to decide whether, legislatively it's the right thing to do or not. We just have to comply with the mandates. And so the tolerance for PFAS, the reason the testing is so expensive, it's such, you have to test to such a low denominator, like in the billionths of a particle, that the testing protocol, if someone doing the testing has had to touch the plastic food container prior to doing the testing, it can impact the results.
Yeah.
There's very strict protocol about gassing off on the same day, because it can all follow the test, so.
That's MDA, minimum detectable by analysis.
Correct.
Yeah, and that's the best way to push, well, okay, good.
Yeah.
Don't get into politics.
Well, it's a bioaccumulate, so
Yeah.
it's, at any level, it's not good, so that's,
Okay,
that's.
So
we have-
what happens to it? Sorry.
No, that's okay,
So
one at a time.
we have 3 years of, we have a plan for the next 3 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
Sure.
we've
And
been
after that,
doing.
We're not gonna be on the city council anymore, no, so it's.
Okay. No, just, don't say that. But we've been doing these hauls ever since I sat down at this table. So this is something that we do every year, twice a year. Sometimes we've had to do it more because of when we were filtering Old Nation's biosolids through our system. Now they take care of their that on their own. But this is something that has been done and continues to need to be done. Scott, you had a comment.
Yeah, I was wondering if they find it, what happens?
Yeah, so what would happen is we would not be able to land apply it, and then there's a process where you
Yes.
have to, essentially you make a biosolid cake, and then it has to be landfill, which is far more costly than land application.
Because right now, what they're doing is they're hauling this out, and agricultural farm,
Correct, that's
they're
right.
using this in their fields, and so far so good, so that's a good thing. So let's just keep hoping that they get to take it out and spread it, right?
Yep.
All right, so we do have this recommended motion before us. I'm looking for that motion. It's gonna be on page 56, so we'll scroll up a little bit more.
Make a motion that the city make a contract with Biotech for their proposed price of 600,000 gallons for $52,500 for the period of 2025 through 2027.
Thank you so much, I appreciate that, thank you. If there's no other questions or comments, Holly, will you call the roll, please?
Jenkins,
Yes.
Van Allsburg,
Yes.
Gilroy,
Yes.
Ludwig,
Yes.
Hanson,
Yes.
Rhines, Haynes. Sorry, Haynes.
All right, thank you. All right, we're getting close to the end of our action items. Next on here, we have our text amendments for zoning ordinance, and once again, we have a memo in our packet, and our city manager, John Hannafin, will lead us through this one.
So it's been busy summer, I tell you already. So, happy to report, the planning commission has made great progress on the master plan over the last couple meetings. We've talked throughout, and even prior to starting that process, about the possibility of text amendments to the zoning ordinance, and that would be changing drive-throughs in the Williamston Road overlay, and then landscape and buffering standards throughout the entire city. So what we're asking for tonight is for council to start the process for the text amendments. You're not agreeing to language or specifics, you're just providing the motion to start that process. And what will happen is planning commission will work on that over the next month. We'll have a public hearing in August at the planning commission, and then upon conclusion of that, the planning commission would make a recommendation to city council for language changes, and then it would be up to your discussion and debate, and you can add or take away from the text amendments in that.
All right.
Or you could always send it back to planning for more work.
All right. Do these need to be done in two, or is it a motion that will cover 1 and 2? Single motion or two motions?
You can do them both at once.
Okay.
Because at the, after the planning commission makes its recommendation, I envision you'll have one ordinance amending 2 different sections of the zoning ordinance.
All right, great, thank you, Tim, I appreciate that clarification. With that being said, I'm looking for the recommended motion in front of us.
Make a motion that we set in motion the plan for text amendment process for drive-throughs in the Williamston Road overlay and the landscape and buffering standards.
Thank you so much. Do I have support?
Yeah, second.
Thank you. If there's no other questions or comments, Holly, will you call the roll, please?
Van Osberg,
Yes.
Gilroy,
Yes.
Ludwig, Hanson,
Yes.
Haynes,
Yes.
Jenkins.
Yes.
Thank you, and I just want to say, and Tim, you can extend it to your planning commission, I appreciate all the hard work and effort that you guys are doing to get this master plan done with McKenna and with John. It's greatly appreciated. I'm really excited to read through it when it's done.
Great.
Yeah. Alrighty, our last but not least is our 2024-2025 fiscal year budget amendments. I am seeing these. I will turn this over to Tom Mead, our city treasurer. It does look like we're going to need separate motions for each. So I'm going to have him kick this off and walk through it, and then I'll call for each of these when the time comes.
Thank you, Mayor. Obviously, we, at this point, have approved the 25-26 budget, and so tonight we're before you with the amendments or adjustments to the existing budget that we're currently operating under, which will end here on June 30th. Throughout the year, obviously, you know, things happen, and we're just trying to get our budget numbers to kind of more coincide with what really happened during the course of the year. I'll go over these kind of quickly. As I say, it's pretty simple, pretty straightforward this year. The first one on general fund, again, just adjusting some of the department expenses and the revenues from what we collected in taxes. The good news on that, on general fund, there's no net, the net effect is 0 for fund balance, so it's not going to affect the fund balance. It's simply just an approval of making some of the adjustments to the department expenses. The next one, the Major Street, we're looking at a $50,000 increase to cover the the Putnam Street project that when we put the budget together a year ago, we thought it might be a possibility to be wrapped up by June 30th of last year. It wasn't. It didn't have construction projects, so they sometimes carry over into the next year. And that's what the case with this is. It was primarily repaintage that we got billed for earlier last year, so we just want to get an adjustment for an extra $50,000 in the Major Street fund to cover those costs. That will impact the fund balance, but they still have over $600,000 in there, so they're in good shape. The next one on local streets, similar deal, only this is for the Williams and Lloyd Street projects. We're asking for an adjustment of $58,000. However, with those projects, they are reimbursable by the federal grants. So with that reimbursement, the net effect of the fund balance of the local streets would be 0. After that, we have the Economic Development Fund. This is just a $3,500 increase to cover the location-based services tool that was purchased during the year. And last but not least, in DDA, we're looking at asking for a $60,000 increase, which will primarily just cover depreciation expense. And of course, depreciation expense, as we've kind of explained before, it's a non-cash expense, so it's not going to affect their cash at all. It's just a issue on the income statement, so that the auditors know that we've accounted for the depreciation expense on that. So.
All right. Before I start asking for these motions, do we have any questions for Tom? Yes, Steve?
You mentioned reimbursable, that harkens back to the project that we had that we were waiting for the funding, where are we at with
I was
that?
actually gonna ask that too. Do we know when we're gonna get our money from the government?
Do we know? We do not, but we interface regularly with, it's DGNR, which is Disaster Grant Recovery Network or something like that. Had some, they require some additional information for future projects in order to reimburse for projects that were completed. It's just what they asked for, so hopefully soon.
Have we received anything yet?
Not yet.
Okay. All right.
This is about 1 million or so, right?
Yeah, the grant's good through 2030.
Right.
We're not gonna carry this out to 2030,
Right.
but there was a couple of things that happened, changing the national election, slowed the process quite a bit, and there's staffing issues there. They're great when you get a hold of someone, they're just, it's difficult to get a hold of.
Okay, all right. Keep knocking on the door.
Oh, yeah.
Yes,
We had,
Steve?
we had to move money because we hadn't gotten that money yet.
Correct.
How is that part of the program being affected at all? Or
So whenever you're gonna sign up for a grant, even one of a small or large amount, you always have to prepare for the disaster that you may never get the funding. And so I would never put us in a position to do a project where we'd be left holding the bag or a bag of empty promises and money. So we were able to use fund balance to make up the difference, but as Tom pointed out and our treasurer pointed out in one of the amendments, from a fund balance perspective, it's booked as, it's viewed as a receivable, and so the fund balances, it's just constrained the cash a little bit, but I mean, we're in a strong cash position in the general fund and also in street funds.
John, you had your hand up?
Yeah, I'm kind of confused, I'm new. What's the purpose of a budget if you change it to reconcile by the end of the fiscal year? Why don't we just report that we were over in these particular categories or under?
Tom?
Yep, good question. Unfortunately, the state doesn't allow that. You have to actually have the amendments, for governmental funds, you have to have the amendments approved so that you do not exceed the budget, which is the whole point of this exercise, basically. We're just trying to comply with, the state law and the governmental accounting. For enterprise funds, they're not so, they don't care so much on that for, sewer and water, but for governmental, they require the amendments.
And I can speak to, for the past several years, we've had some years where we've maybe had only 1 or 2 budget amendments. We've had a year where we've had no budget amendments. So it ebbs and flows. And, like Tom said, we're following what's mandated through us, from our state government, to make sure that, all our I's are dotted and our T's are crossed. Yes?
On the NISA board, we have, that represents 4 townships, a village, and the city of Williamston, right?
Correct.
And so our discussion about this very thing right here, budget amendments and so forth, the townships have been recommended by state government, they've been recommended that they, on their monthly meeting, they do their budget adjustments every month.
Right.
So NISA does a budget adjustment every month, so it's kind of a,
When it's necessary.
it's a normal thing, and it's a real world thing, because you can make a plan for what happens, but reality laughs at that, so, we have to adjust.
Yeah, Tom?
If I could just throw or add to that, we have started where if we have a large purchase that comes up, whether it be an emergency or, something, a capital asset of some sort, we have been trying to get it adjusted at that point in time. Sometimes though, you get down towards the end of the year and you really don't know, you know, like street lights, you know, you get $10,000, $12,000 a month on a bill, and, you know, you're never really sure exactly where you're gonna be till you get down to the wire and kind of see, so.
And I would have to think that if anything catastrophic happened over the course of our fiscal year, it's gonna come forward, we're not gonna wait till the end, so.
Right.
I think, you know, we're doing a good job, and any other comments? Yes, John?
Yeah, just so I understand, we have to do this on a line item basis?
No, for general fund, we're doing them by department, so as a department, basis, but for all the other funds, it's just total fund, balance.
The city budget has 5 funds within it. We have to do a resolution for each fund. Is that right?
Yeah, there's more than 5, but that's all.
We have 5 here tonight, but we're only dealing with 5, but there are more,
There are more.
there are
Yes,
more
yep.
departments than just
Only
that.
5 required adjustment amendments.
John?
Yeah, just as a voter, that seems like a smokescreen. I mean, it might be state mandated, but that's not a budget in my mind, from a professional perspective or personal perspective.
Yep, I'm gonna go ahead and turn this over to our city manager, John Hanneman.
So there's a whole gamut of, we have a budget, we have a fund balance, and then we have a balance sheet, and then we have our audited financial statements. And the audited financial statements are, that's the statutory document that the state of Michigan recognizes as far as the view of your finances. So, and when you look at, the general fund is about a $2.9 million fund. So on a percent, like a statistically significant basis, the level of adjustments are, you know, less than half of a percent. Now, obviously, our goal is always to hit the mark every time and not have any amendments, but as presented in the item, the net is that there is no change to the original budgeted fund balance for the fiscal year that's wrapping up in that week.
Tim?
Under the Uniform Budgeting and Accounting Act, no public body can spend any money, cannot make any expenditures unless it is contained in an approved budget. That's why we approve a budget for the following fiscal year in advance, and that when changes come along, they have to be made as you need them through the budget year, and then at the end, any final reconciliations must be made, otherwise the expenditures can't be made.
And it has to be done publicly.
Oh, yes.
There's no-
Oh, absolutely,
All those decisions-
absolutely.
All of our
Yep.
decisions are made at an
Yep.
open meeting.
Yep, all right. So I think we're gonna start rolling through these. So I will call for the particular fund, but whoever's gonna make that motion, if you could read what is presented in front of us as the requested action. So I'm looking for the motion for General Fund 101.
I'm not sure what exactly how the motion would sound.
So,
What page are you looking
this is gonna be on 73.
at? 73.
So you're gonna, whoever's making the motion is gonna read the sentence that's contained in it.
Okay,
I'd move that we approve the budget amendments for General Fund 101 as presented.
Thank you so much. Do I have support?
Second.
Thank you both. Holly, will you call the roll, please?
Gilroy,
Yes.
Ludwig,
Yes.
Hanson,
Yes.
Haynes,
Yes.
Jenkins,
Yes.
Van Allsburg,
Yes.
I am looking for the recommended action for Major Street Fund 202.
Move to approve the budget amendments from Major Street Fund 202 as presented.
Thank you so much. Do I have support?
Second.
Thank you both. Holly, will you call the roll, please?
Gilroy,
Yes.
Ludwig,
Yes.
Hanson,
Yes.
Haynes,
Yes.
Jenkins,
Yes.
Van Allsburg,
Yes.
I am looking for the recommended motion for Local Street Fund 203.
You're up, Clay.
Make a motion to approve the budget amendments for local street fund 203 as presented.
Thank you so much.
Because
Thank
I'm
you.
comfortable with the concept.
Okay, all right, I'm gonna call us back into order. When I'm calling for motions, I'd like us to focus on that. Thank you. I have a motion, I have support. Holly, will you call the roll, please?
Ludwig,
Yes.
Hanson,
Yes.
Haynes,
Yes.
Jenkins,
Yes.
Van Allsburg,
Yes.
Gilroy,
Yes. All right, I'm looking for the recommended motion for Economic Development Fund 244.
Make a motion to approve the budget amendments for Economic Development Fund 244 as presented.
Thank you. Do I have support?
Support.
Thank you. Holly, will you call the roll, please?
Hanson,
Yes.
Haynes,
Yes.
Jenkins,
Yes.
Van Allsburg,
Yes.
Gilroy,
Yes.
Ludwig,
Yes.
Lastly, I'm looking for the recommended motion for DDA Fund 248.
Make a motion to approve the budget amendments for DDA Fund 248 as presented.
Thank you, do I have support? Thank you. Holly, will you call the roll, please?
Haynes,
Yes.
Jenkins,
Yes.
Van Allsburg,
Yes.
Gilroy,
Yes.
Ludwig,
Yes.
Hanson.
Yes.
All right, thank you so much for getting through that action item list. I know it was lengthy. Moving along our agenda, we have discussion items, and these three are all going to be carried by our city manager, John Hannafin. On our list, we have our construction project update, our master plan update, and our main for safety improvements.
Construction project update, the High Street and Mall Street bids are due next Tuesday. So hopefully we'll have something to present to council at our meeting on the 14th of July. And just to kind of underscore that, there are 5 Mondays in June, so we won't be back here for council at least until the 14th. So
Okay.
that's it for those. For master plan, planning commission is not meeting next week. We are going to continue to work on the plan. A draft is mostly done, and then we'll take up the text amendments at the next planning commission meeting. And then main for safety improvements, I was not able to get schedules coordinated with Phil Westmoreland from Spicer, but we are meeting Wednesday. He has some designs to share with me, and then I will share those with you in my management report at the end of the week.
All right, thank you. Any questions regarding those updates? All right. Moving along on our agenda, correspondence received, information only. We do have a public hearing notice from Locke Township. John, do you want to go over that real quick and just let our viewing public know what we received?
Yeah, I believe it was, Locke is considering amendments to their zoning ordinance on solar? Is that the one?
ORV.
ORV, sorry.
Yeah, sorry, off-road vehicle ordinance.
Yeah, so it sounds like they're letting people go crazy on golf carts all throughout the township. But if you want to weigh in on that, if you're a member of the township, or even if you're not, you can show up at the July 8th public hearing at the Locke Township Hall at 3805 Bell Oak Road in Williamston, Michigan.
All right, great. And again, that's just information received. It's nothing that we're going to discuss here. It does not apply to us here, what they're doing in the township. Moving on to our department head reports. John, I know you talked a lot, but I'm going to throw back over to you for your city manager report.
Well, the thing I'll add is that even though we had some weather challenges, and I know Mr. Rhines will give the full Jubilee breakdown. I think it was another great weekend. I think that the feedback I heard being out on the street, the parade, is folks really like the addition of the carnival. You want to shout out an enterprising new business on Main Street. They were taking advantage of the extra couple thousand people on the street, passing out free samples. So kudos to the Candy Cafe for doing that. Also saw a couple other businesses handing out flyers and things like that. So part of the events, and Jubilee's an awesome event, awesome showcase of the community, but it's also we bring all those people to our front porch. Hopefully people also participate in the local businesses. So, that's all I have.
Chief, how are you this evening?
Good evening.
Good evening.
Everything went great at Jubilee, no issues. I don't want to steal Dan's thunder. I was in the dunk tank, spent more time in the water than I did out, which Boy Scouts, thank you. And we did put a new reserve officer on right before we started Jubilee, and he did a great job.
Great.
He was out there every day, so that's all I have.
Any issues, any incidents
None.
throughout the week? None.
None whatsoever.
Great. Well, I just want to commend you guys for doing a fabulous job, down at the beer tent, being there to make sure everybody's having a good time safely and responsibly. Also for crowd control, for parades. I know we didn't get to have the kids parade on Wednesday evening, and again, we won't steal Dan's thunder as he brings the Jubilee report back to us at next meeting, but looks like everything went smoothly and well, so thank you again so much for your department's participation, your full-timers and your reserves.
Thank you.
Moving along, we've got our subcommittee reports, so would anybody like to report on any meetings that we have had? Yes.
We had a TIFA meeting and voted to reject the proposal for the ice house as not meeting the RFP to the level that we had set forth, and we directed the city manager to provide for another RFP to see if we can finally get something moving on the ice
So
house.
that was Steve Ike's proposal?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Yes.
Just if I could, we do have at least the interested parties
Okay.
for the project, so that's
All right.
good.
Okay, great, thank you, thanks so much for that. You know, the Ice House is a historic building, we'd love to see it preserved, we'd love to see the right proposal come forward. So hopefully these other two will meet our expectations on that RFP, I appreciate that. Anyone else for meetings? Yes?
Yeah, NISA. NISA continues to spend money like a drunken sailor, but that's kind of what they were voted in to do. And I don't understand the process, I don't understand people's thinking behind that, but that's what they do. And in the process, as far as a statistical accountability,
Yes.
which, Chief, you do this every month, and what you present to us is good. So we can say as the city council of the city of Williamston, we have a $3 million annual budget, we spend 1/3 of that on the police. What do we get for that 1/3 of that, of the police stuff? And you provide us with statistics that support that, and it's good feedback. Well, this is the feedback we get from NISA. This is the silly runs report, which says almost nothing. And I've asked NISA to change that to tell us not the number of runs that happen, but the number of events that happen. So in Locke Township, we had 3 major medical events and 2 fires. And in Wheatfield Township, we had 1 minor medical and so forth. So they're kind of moving in that direction, and they might, Dorothy, the head of the NISA board there, says that her township has something like that. So maybe she'll begin providing that. And I think that statistical accountability, especially for the kind of money that NISA gets, is important. I'm going to continue to push for it.
Great, thank you, thank you. Well, and that's why you're our representative down there. I knew that you'd be the right one.
There was a picture on a community webpage of a vehicle that NISA purchased, and they were making a joke about it. And I want to hear from you about that vehicle, because I'm sure everyone saw that picture.
So it's in regards to the new UTV, the off-road vehicle that NISA purchased, and yes, I
Well,
can,
you explain what that's used for and why it was okay to buy?
yeah.
Well, I think it was a silly thing to buy. It was another one of those, we have money coming out our ears, so let's spend our money and buy this really cool thing that we may or may not ever use, but which they used the week after they bought it. They actually did use it.
What's it used for?
It's a side-by-side thing that you can go out in the country someplace. If there's no roads around and somebody's having an emergency, you can use this vehicle to access that place because it's an off-road vehicle.
Right, so let's say, for instance, I'm gonna give a scenario.
Okay.
There is a report of a canoe overturned on the Red Cedar River,
Okay.
off of Zimmer Road, no public access.
Yeah.
How are you going to get to that person that is in distress?
You have a
So,
helicopter or something?
Yeah.
well, I get that. I get it, it's again, this is NISA's money, and I'm glad that you are there holding them accountable. And Chief, you've had many, many years at Ingham County, and now you're here, and you may want to weigh in on this too. I don't necessarily think that the purchase of a UT vehicle was silly. I think that no matter what emergency is out there, our first responders need to have the right tools to do it, right? Because if we were in that type of situation, we'd want somebody to get to us, right? So, I get it, that it costs a lot of money, but again, Chief could probably speak to what it costs to outfit a vehicle that's in service for our police department. It's not cheap. And I know that there have been certain times where NISA has sought out grant dollars, funded their equipment. I know that they've had to use millage money to bring in equipment, so for me personally, I want my first responders, whether it's our police department or our fire department, to have the equipment they need to save anybody. You know, but again, social media can be a good thing and a bad thing, and I think, you know, when people get revved up and are on social media, a lot of feelings happen, but I do appreciate.
Interesting note on that is that Tommy Pratt was the representative on NISA before I was there, right?
Right.
And Tommy was unable to be at this one meeting. So this purchase idea came up 2 times. The first time it came up, it was 4-3 against.
Oh,
Tommy,
really?
yes, and Tommy was one of the ones that voted against.
Okay.
The next meeting, Tommy wasn't there. I don't know why. But that one was 3-3, they bought it.
Yeah.
Because Tommy wasn't there.
You
He
can't
didn't.
buy it on a 3-3 vote, 3-3.
Somebody had to have been a tiebreaker. There had to have been a tiebreaker for it.
But the key is that Tommy was not there,
Oh,
so.
okay.
And John, do you have a
Are
comment?
you a voting member?
Yes, he is. Yes, yep. Every representative from the service areas for NISA, that's why Terry is our our area representative, they all vote, just like we do.
Okay.
Yep.
So is it just that commission, or is it planning commission and so on?
No, I mean, you all have your seats on your different boards here, and then the city provides a representative to the NISA authority. That's how their charter or language is written up. So Lop Township, Leroy Township, Wheatfield, Williamston, Williamstown Township, each of Weberville, each of them have a voting member from those municipalities that sit on the NISA board. And so they help dictate what's happening down there. So,
Yep.
but thank you for that update, and I appreciate it. And hopefully, everything that you're asking them to do, they will do that and embrace it, because, you know, it's improvement, right?
Yeah, you're doing a good job.
Yeah, thank you, Terry. Thank you. Anyone else have any meetings that they want to report out on? All right, I will go to audience participation with a maximum of 5 minutes per presentation. Anybody want to come forward again at this time? All right, if I don't have anybody that's going to come forward, council member comments, I'll start with Tim.
Yeah, I'm really happy to see Mr. Marchand and Mr. Lanning coming back on board. I mean, they've been the icons for a very, very long time in their experience and their service to the community, and to Williamston is very much appreciated.
Yep, you guys have a very good planning commission board, and I'm really happy with what you guys are doing. Scott?
Yeah, I'd like to thank the scouts for coming here, sitting through a difficult meeting, and I'm hoping to hear about your Eagle Scout projects in the future.
Definitely. All right, Steve. Good. All right, Terry.
Eagle Scouts. With the turban? No.
Not tonight. Sorry.
That's, no, turban.
You got 2 strikes on the turkey, man. You got no 2 counts.
John.
I'm good.
All right. I just want to close out the meeting by saying what a fabulous, fabulous Jubilee week. We navigate through tough weather scenarios, but the Jubilee Committee is always able to find an alternate solution for that. The kids parade that was not able to run on Wednesday evening because of the rain was able to take part in the grand parade on Saturday, which was great. It was wonderful to see so many people out. And you know, here's what I'll say, and again, I'm not going to steal Councilman Ryan's thunder because he will give it an update, but change is good. So as a community, I think we navigated through change. Some people weren't happy with a change in schedule of certain events, but I think that the feedback that I've heard throughout this whole week is it still was a great, you know, experience, a great time, and so you know, it's what we do. We're all about bringing people into our community, and just like city manager said, when we showcase ourselves the way that we do, it's going to make those people want to come back and visit and shop at our businesses, buy ice cream, go to the bagel shop, go to our 2 wonderful theaters. You know, we've got so much here to offer. So I want to just applaud our city, our residents, our business owners for providing such a great week. And I'm looking forward to our next event that'll be coming up on our calendar, which I think is going to be National Night Out.
That's right, yeah.
National Night Out. So Chief, we'll look forward to having some more updates from you as we get closer to that. But that is the first Tuesday of August. Mark it on your calendar. He did. He talked about Jubilee and the regrets. All right. You know what? We better conclude this meeting so Steve can get home. He's had a rough day at the ice cream shop. I'm just kidding. We're going to go ahead and conclude at 6:53.
Certificate.